Can the next generation crew keep the Star Trek franchise alive into the next millennium?
Now we're standing alone. That makes this movie very important.
What's the story with acclaimed English thespian Patrick Stewart?
We call Patrick Your Majesty.
The guy is just out of control.
Guess who these guys are dishing?
He's the silliest man in the Enterprise.
Sort of the pull your pants down kind of humor, you know?
What are the inside jokes and top secret secrets on a Star Trek movie set?
The only reason I got that job is because I slept with the captain.
A surprising amount of pressure.
We'll have answers to all these questions and find out what the future holds for the Star Trek phenomenon.
You've got a slam dunk with Star Trek the Opera.
Now, let's get serious as E goes behind the scenes of Star Trek First Contact.
Let's rock and roll!
Hello. You're watching a behind-the-scenes look at the Star Trek movie First Contact.
This is Captain Picard of the Enterprise. I'm taking command of the fleet. Target all of your weapons onto the following coordinates.
Star Trek First Contact features the cast of the now-defunct TV series Star Trek The Next Generation. Jonathan Frakes, who portrays Commander William Riker, served as the director of First Contact. While Frakes has helmed several episodes of the TV show, this was his first shot at a feature film.
Excellent. Thank you all.
It was a situation where they decided to stay in the family with someone who knew something about Star Trek and had Star Trek experience. And all of us threw our collective hats in the ring, and I was a lucky one.
Left.
When the series ended more than 2 years ago, Next Generation was at the height of its popularity. But Paramount wanted the show's cast to start making Star Trek movies, and they didn't think audiences would flock to theaters if they could see the Next Generation on TV. Plus, the studio still had the TV series Deep Space Nine on the air and was about to launch another called Voyager.
Action!
Flash forward to 1996, the 30th anniversary of Star Trek. The two TV series are faltering in the ratings, and the media is predicting that if this film does not do well, the Next Generation's intergalactic glory days could be numbered.
Occasionally, I felt that the future of the franchise was resting on my shoulders when people reminded me of it.
I do think it hung in the balance with this movie, really. They're expensive films to produce, and if they don't have a return and people don't like them, they're going to go away.
We certainly didn't want to be the ones who destroyed the franchise on our watch.
We'd always kind of had this feeling that, yeah, they were successful in TV, but they can't cut the mustard on the big screen.
While most of the cast believes the success of this film is critical, there are some who disagree, including the guardian of the Star Trek franchise, producer Rick Berman.
I think Star Trek is a pretty stable franchise right now, and I think it would take a lot more than one movie to screw it up.
I think that they'd have to be incredibly stupid and inept to really ruin a franchise like this.
Despite those differing opinions, everyone does agree that First Contact is better than the last Star Trek movie.
Very nice.
Very nice. I think one of the failings of the first picture we did was that we didn't really have the opportunity to project heroics.
One of our feelings for this film was to get it a little bit more action-packed, to turn Picard from the brooding hero back into the action hero, which he is more than capable of doing.
I think there's more humor in it than Generations had.
Tomorrow morning, when they detect the warp signature from your ship and realize that humans have discovered how to travel faster than light, they decide to alter their course. They make first contact with Earth, right here.
First Contact refers specifically in the film to
report. We appear to be caught in a
Earthlings making first contact with an alien race, which happens at the end of the film, and therefore provides the
atmosphere contains high
jumping-off point for all of Star Trek.
Life signs? Population approximately 9 billion. All Borg.
How?
They must have done it in the past.
He has just taken command of a new starship. If you remember, Counselor Troy, Marina Sirtis, crashed the other one in the previous movie. So that's the last time she gets to drive.
This is no time to argue about time. We don't have the time.
Ship's counselor Deanna Troi may have crashed the Enterprise in the last film, but at least she wasn't drunk. This time around, Troy's flirtation with a little 21st century rod cut provides some of the film's funniest moments. Actress Marina Sirtis saw that as a welcome change.
I never thought I'd hear the words coming out of my mouth, but Deanna Troi is the comic relief in a Star Trek movie, and I'm thrilled.
They went back and assimilated Earth, changed history.
The chief medical officer, Dr. Beverly Crusher, is back again. Gates McFadden says she's happy her character is a better doctor than she used to be.
I sort of had to make that decision that the only reason I got that job is because I slept with the captain. But, you know, finally I was able to go to med school, I guess, and we started, you know, I had more patients who lived.
Conduct your warp flight tomorrow morning, just as you planned.
The character whose
Why tomorrow
looks have
morning?
changed most since the last film is Lieutenant Commander Geordi LaForge. Thanks
Because
to
at 11
high-tech
o'clock, an
ocular
alien ship
implants,
begins passing
playing
through
Geordi was a totally different experience for actor LeVar Burton.
Covering an actor's eyes is cruel and inhuman punishment. And the visor was really a barrier, you know. And taking it off has just made such a huge difference.
Captain, I believe I am feeling anxiety.
Of course, Brent Spiner portrays the android Data, who is still dealing with his new emotion chip.
Data's a pretty smart guy, so he's kind of figured out how to deal with the emotions. Not only can he turn them on and off, but he can use them to his advantage, as he does in this film.
Perhaps today is a good day to die.
In order to appear in First Contact, actor Michael Dorn and his Klingon character Worf took a hiatus from the TV series Deep Space Nine.
He was like, great, I'm back, you know, I'm back in, you know, on my ship, my home, and guess what? We're in a battle. Oh, that's wonderful.
Next Generation fans should be thrilled to hear who this crew does battle with. Their most evil nemesis, a hive of futuristic lemmings called the Borg.
The Borg are our most ruthless and vicious adversary.
When we return, we'll have much more on that, plus a no-holds-barred look at what really happens on a Star Trek movie set.
We are very naughty, as naughty as we can be.
Nothing is sacred on our set.
Welcome back. And we're continuing now with more behind the scenes of Star Trek First Contact. I can make a living doing this job. Why the hell do I learn lines and spend all the time? I could just do this stuff all the time. Ask me some more, do some more.
You want to know what my vision is? Dollar signs, money.
Star Trek First Contact is full of firsts. It features the first big screen appearance of Star Trek's most important historical figure, Zefram Cochrane. The eccentric rocket scientist hasn't been seen since the very first TV episode in 1967. James Cromwell, the Oscar-nominated actor from Babe, takes on this wild and woolly role.
Zefram Cochrane is the mother of Star Trek. He's the originator, the creator of Warp Drive. And he makes the first warp flight in space, which attracts the attention of the Vulcan, who then decide that the planet Earth is worth visiting.
You want a way out? Here it is.
What is this?
Another Oscar nominee, Alfre Woodard, joins Cromwell as Cochrane's partner, Lily Sloan. Because Alfre has known director Jonathan Frakes for years, she instantly felt at home on the set.
We met as young actors, you know, like putting pennies together to buy chicken to barbecue and booze to party with. I mean, we go way back.
Brave words. I've heard them before.
Another first in this film is the introduction of the sinister and seductive leader of the Borg. Portrayed by actress Alice Krige, the Borg Queen's entrance is a showstopper.
She is the Borg and is passionate in her pursuit of power and gets off on it. Intensely sexual, but that's bound up with power. And partially human and partially not.
I'm endeavoring to become more human.
Human. We used to be exactly like them. Flawed.
The regular cast warmly welcomed this trio, but it took the newcomers a while to get used to the next generation's unique approach to the work.
We had a reputation in this town while we were making the series of being the nicest show to guest on, but also the most undisciplined.
About to send a security detail.
No. See you off deck 16. Post security, I agree.
Oh!
So what was it like when this bunch got back together on the bridge?
Emotional and silly, as it always was on the show.
Cut! We have had directors who don't quite know how to deal with it. This crew that we had on the movie were a bit confused by the hilarity at the beginning. I think they were thinking we'd be home 2 hours earlier if this bunch didn't mess around so much.
Our objective is to have a good time. You know, we spend a lot of hours on the set and on indoor sound stages. And I think we realized very early on that you go insane if you're not having a good time. So we made that our job.
Cut! Fred! The next generation's motto could be, live long and prosper, but have an excellent time doing so. However, director Frakes believes all this tomfoolery has a higher purpose.
That creates an atmosphere in which people feel free to be creative, in addition to feeling free to goof around. But it also provides a situation where things happen spontaneously or scenes get embellished in a way that on an uptight set they might not have the opportunity to. Humor is the strongest suit, particularly when we get on the bridge.
It goes from a very sophisticated, dry British humor to, to Jonathan. It's sort of the pull your pants down kind of humor, you know. So it runs the gamut.
A surprising amount of cross-dressing.
Really? Who engaged?
No names.
No names.
No names.
But
they know who they are.
We sort of do a set of Monty Python, and then after we've done any possible thing we think is going to get a laugh, then we finally do it.
Gates would have the bridge decorated, you know. We'd walk into a scene and she'd have the bridge decorated. You know, curtains, a little champagne bucket, you know, next to the captain's chair.
We call Patrick Your Majesty, you know that, don't you? You didn't know that? Yeah, when we get angry, we go, oh, shut up, Your Majesty.
And then suddenly when action happens, we get serious.
Action! We're a very musical group. In fact, Brent Spiner has an album, and 4 of us provided backup vocals for him on that album, a wonderful up-and-coming group called the Sunspots.
We've got some people who think they can sing and some people who really can sing.
Unfortunately, Jonathan and Brent were in a lot of musicals in New York that no one has ever heard of, so we can't really join in.
How do we get your stride?
Speedy. With a set so full of cut-ups, we wanted to know who takes the award for Cast Clown.
It's a toss-up between Michael Dorn and Brent.
That would be Mr. Spiner, I believe. Hands down, Cast Clown.
Well, it's sort of shifted. I think Michael Dorn.
Who is the most congenial member of the bunch?
Nobody.
I was going to say me, but I think it'd be disputed by all concerned. Brent.
Brent Spiner.
Spot the Cat is very congenial.
How about the most serious?
Boy, it's hard to find a serious one in that bunch.
I can tell you who's the most bald.
I suppose Patrick is the most serious. On certain days, he's the silliest man in the Enterprise.
LeVar.
LeVar.
just talk to him.
Did you? He seemed serious, didn't he?
Okay, last question. Who has changed the most since the series began?
I'd have to say Patrick, because he's just kind of grown into it. He was very British when we started. I mean, I was very British when we started too. But British read anal, you know.
Yes, he was total seriousness. We're not here to have fun, okay? And Patrick now is out of control. The guy is just out of control.
I was a little uptight, I think. I was a bit of a stuffed shirt, and I used to complain about, we weren't taking the work seriously enough. Eventually I got it. I mean, these guys, they knocked me into shape. So I like to hope that I was eventually one of the most disruptive elements in the show.
Still to come on Behind the Scenes of Star Trek First Contact, envisioning the future of the franchise.
Naked Star Trek.
And find out just how obsessed Star Trek fans can get.
$50,000 worth of costumes were stolen. To ease behind-the-scenes look at Star Trek's first First contact.
One more time. Door stays open while Alfred's in the doorway.
While director Jonathan Frakes toiled away with his cast, it was up to Paramount's security division to keep First Contact a secret. Star Trek has such a devoted following, some fans will go to great lengths to get a sneak peek at the latest creation. In fact, the script of the last Star Trek movie ended up on the...
There was an incredible amount of security around this because of, in the history of the show, of our show at least, I remember when Patrick's captain's chair was stolen, my chair was stolen from the bridge, $50,000 worth of costumes were stolen.
In the long run, there's virtually no security precautions that really work. When you're dealing with a major movie studio, when you're dealing with script departments and distributions of things, if somebody really wants to get a hold of something, they're going to do it.
The security at the door of the sets was amazing. And part of that is the history of Star Trek, and part of that is the fanaticism of the fans.
We have had actual, major robbery where people will break into the studio with masks on at night and do nothing but steal some of Worf's headpieces. At the risk of going to prison. And they do end up going to prison. They get caught sooner or later.
Every movie set has running gags that evolve from the experience of making a film. On First Contact, the longest-running joke was inspired by the enemy drones, the Borg. The entire cast had fun creating what became known on the set as Borgisms.
The obvious, of course, are like Victor Borg and Bjorn Borg.
From Under the Boardwalk to Borg to be Wild, and I won't go on.
There were so many, and it was really the Borg themselves, the guys who were playing the Borg. They had a list of them that they had on the wall, and every day somebody would add one to it, but there were hundreds of them. They were brilliant.
Smorgasbord and
Borg-free, Snoop Borgy Borg. It just goes on and on. There's no limit to it.
The silliness just never seems to stop with this film. Even when questioning the Next Generation team about their future on the big screen, they just can't straighten up. I mean, could Patrick Stewart have been serious when he spoke of incorporating the cast's musical talents into the next project?
Should the moment ever come that Paramount feel that it's ready for a Star Trek musical on Broadway, we're certainly well prepared. Actually, that's really a good idea. Can we make a note of that? And that I thought of it first and I've copyrighted this idea?
There was talk about that at one time. I think they were talking about the original series. Even City Opera in New York talked about doing an opera of Star Trek, which I think is a killer idea, really. I mean, certainly if City Opera is looking to sell tickets, you've got a slam dunk with Star Trek the Opera.
Naked Star Trek. But they haven't let us do that yet.
Okay, seriously, guys, does the Star Trek we know and love have a solid future? Will you return for another movie?
We have 2 new shows snapping at our heels now. I don't know how many more next-gen movies there'll be. There's a whole slew of actors behind us waiting to get on the big screen. I'd be happy if we do another one. I'd be very happy.
I think it's important what they're doing. And I enjoy having this world to return to every now and again. It's a fairly unique experience for actors. Not many of us get this chance, to revisit old friends in this way.
Stay with us as the Star Trek cast shows off their best impressions of each other.
Well, I sometimes toy with being Mr. Stewart.
Doctor, if that is your real rank.
Hi, this is Marina Sirtis. Welcome to E! Entertainment's half-hour behind-the-scenes look at Star Trek First Contact.
We wondered if these chummy castmates ever do impressions of each other. And what do you know?
Several of us do.
Those of us who can.
And guess who gets picked on the most?
Pontiac, an American car.
No, I sometimes toy with being Mr. Stewart. I've actually called Patrick's girlfriend and fooled her into thinking it was he.
He did Excalibur, and he had a great part in there, and I always liked that movie until I worked with Patrick, and now I can't look at it anymore, and I'm upset about that. So I do him and his, he's always laughing,
Lancelot! Ha ha! Welcome to my castle.
We all are trying to do Patrick's accent all day, and he's, of course, trying to do ours, and mocking me for my Midwesternisms.
And if you have any doubt that the captain can dish it out, just take a look at this.
Oh. You kidding? Here we go. Ready for this one? Mm-hmm. This is the new movie. Guess which character this is?
If you were not the man you are, I would kill you where you stand. If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand.
If you were any other man, did he do that one? Yeah, because he was up in the, when we had lunch today, he was up there talking about that he finally has something on me now, you know, because he loved the way I said that, you know, so.
We never got to do that episode in which we all undergo these personality changes and become one another. You know, I used to pitch it most years, but somehow it never got made. Maybe that could be the next movie.
Action!
Check out the board. Okay, back to work. Check out Patrick. No more taking a shot at the board.